In this episode, we will discuss explicit conversion of basic data types, such as int, float, bool, and str. Additionally, we will talk about implicit conversion, which is performed automatically during some operations. Let's not waste any more time and jump straight into the material. When we talk about variable types in Python, the need of conversion often arises. This means representing the same information in a different format. For example, you might have information about person's age in the form of text, but you cannot perform mathematical operation on it, which you may need. In such case, you would represent this information as a number. This transformation is what we call conversion, an explicit conversion, one that the programmer deliberately applies, knowing the data being worked with the intended purpose. Such conversion can occur between basic data types in various configurations. However, they are not without limitations, which we will discuss each case individually. Let's start with integers. We use the int function to convert values to the integer type. If we have strings that represent an integer, we can convert it to the int type. However, the string must represent a valid integer and, importantly, it cannot contain fractional part, otherwise the conversion will fail. Additionally, we are not limited to the decimal system. We can also pass a string representing a number in binary, octal, or hexadecimal. In such cases, we need to provide an additional argument specifying the base of the number system. For example, let's convert the number 10 represented in these systems. When converting a floating point number to an integer, the fractional part is truncated, leaving only the integer part. Finally, converting Boolean values, true and false, results in 1 and 0 respectively. We use the float function to convert values to the float type. A string representing a number can always be converted to a float. It can also be a number written in scientific notation. In this format, the letter E represents the base of the exponent 10, while the number following it represents the exponent. Converting an integer to a float is always possible. Similarly, Boolean values are converted to 1 and 0 as floating point numbers. We use the bool function to convert values to the bool type. Strings, like all collection in Python, are converted to false if they are empty. Otherwise, they are converted to true. For numbers, 0 is converted to false, while all other values are converted to true. The same rule applies to floating point numbers. We use the str function to convert values to the string type. Converting numbers to strings is very intuitive. It returns the representation of the number in decimal form as a plain text. This also applies to floating point numbers. Boolean values are converted to the corresponding strings, true and false. In addition to explicit conversion, there is also an implicit conversion performed automatically during some operations. Let's also introduce a new value, none. It can also be converted to other types. When you add an integer to a floating point number, an implicit conversion occurs in the background, converting the result to the float type, which can hold more information. The result of such an operation will naturally be a type float. In division, even between two integers, the result will also be a floating point number. Finally, let's talk about the value none. Its primary purpose is to indicate that the value doesn't hold any data. In the case of functions, if a function returns none, it essentially means it doesn't return any value. However, this value is converted to false when cast to bool, and to the string none when cast to string. Its type is non-type. For more details on data types, I recommend the official documentation. For now, we'll stop here with solid foundation of knowledge and good starting point for exploring Python's specification on your own. Thank you for watching and see you in the next episode.